4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. So why? They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. Pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
The remark comes 5 days before Election Day as both Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are crisscrossing the country in search of those remaining undecided voters who will determine the winner of the race for the White House. The former president donned an orange vest and climbed into a Trump-branded trash truck in a photo op aimed at seizing on the garbage gaffe from President Biden. Of course, that may also remind Puerto Ricans that a Trump campaign-approved comedian recently called the island garbage. Let's discuss that and more with CNN political commentator Margaret Hoover, former Republican governor of New Jersey Christine Todd Whitman, Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha, and former Republican strategist and pollster Lee Carter. Margaret, let me start with you. Your reaction to what Trump said last night.
Jim, we all have heard enough from Donald Trump and it's time to turn the page. It's no surprise he's going to double down on the crazy, going to double down on the offensive, and going to double down on the things that are going to rile up his base. Because what he needs right now is to get every single one of those people who voted for him in 2016 dropped off in 2020. And that's in Pennsylvania, that's in those blue wall states, and all across in these battleground states. They will come out, the crazier he gets, the more offensive he gets, because that's what they need to hear. And so that's his formula. So if you want negativity, if you want trash talk about our country, that's what you're going to get listening to Donald Trump's closing argument.
And Lee, women are outpacing men in early voting in battleground states so far. Abortion rights, of course, are a top concern. Was that a smart comment of the former president to make last night? I mean, setting aside, the history that Trump has with women, which we talked about a little earlier. Just from a strategic standpoint, does that make any sense?
I mean, I think I understand what he was trying to say there. He was trying to talk about a broader issue, and he ended up making a soundbite that we can play over and over again. And it's really going to just focus not on the broader point, but it's going to focus on women, whether they like it or not. I'm going to force this on them. And I think that's an unfortunate soundbite for him. But I think the whole thing is, it's not what you say that matters, it's what people hear. If you hate Donald Trump, you're going to listen to that and say, he is terrible, he hates women, he's a misogynist, this is more evidence of hate. If you love Donald Trump, you're going to hear that and say, you know what, that's just Trump being Trump, and I understand he was trying to talk about something different. So I'm not sure ultimately how much this is going to have an impact at the end of the day. I think people have already decided what they think about Donald Trump, and his numbers have reigned relatively strong throughout all of this. It's Kamala Harris's numbers who have been going up and down.
But Governor Whitman, I wonder, you were governor of New Jersey, Republican, who no longer supports Donald Trump, doesn't support Donald Trump. I do wonder, though, about those wavering centrist Republican women in places like the suburbs of Philadelphia and so on. Let's show a poll from over the weekend. This is Choice for President, ABC News Ipsos poll. Harris, 19 points. She is leading Donald Trump among women. That is above where Biden was against the president at that time in 2020. Your thoughts, Governor Whitman?
Well, frankly, that comment of his, whether they like it or not, is just infuriating. And I think there are a lot of women who are still somewhat hesitant. Those women who are on the fence, to whom that will be extremely offensive, and it will sway the vote. And I don't know why we're still talking about the trash thing, of the fact that Joe Biden mentioned that, when Donald Trump has been denigrating people, men, women, minorities. They're calling them trash, calling them vermin, poisoning our blood. We have to stop talking about the things he's talking about and say, look at the things that he's done and how his language is affecting the way we look at this election, the undermining of the public's confidence in the electoral system. It's all part of this package. And I do agree that his base loves this, but there are still, amazing to me, number of people who haven't quite made up their mind. And it's comments like, he's going to take care of women whether they like it or not, that just makes you clench your fist. It makes me clench my fist, want to smack him across the face. He's not taking care of me. or my body. And everything that he's done thus far has told me that that's what he wants control of. I mean, he's promised us that he would appoint conservative justices to undo Roe v. Wade, and that's exactly what he's done. And now we've had women who have had to go out of state, women who've lost their lives, women who have been put in danger of losing their lives because doctors are afraid to act because their states have put these total bans on abortion. The whole picture is one that tells you exactly who he is and what he's going to do. And the more he says things like that of, I'm going to take care of you whether you like it or not, the more I think he will sway those voters who are still undecided to say, no, we don't want this kind of a person in the White House.
Yeah, Chuck, I mean, you know, when Governor Whitman says she'd like to slap Donald Trump across the face, I mean, I got to think if you're a Democratic strategist this morning, you must think that, you know, Trump had this day yesterday where he's, you know, riding around in a garbage truck. He's wearing an orange vest. He's trying to capitalize on what President Biden said. And then he goes out to a rally and says he's going to do something whether women like it or whether the women like it or not.
Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, Jim Acosta. And this is nothing but like a costume that he's put himself in every day. Now, I'm in my normal business casual Mexican redneck costume.
That's not a costume.
Yesterday and every day, Donald Trump tries to dress himself up as a champion of women. And guess who ain't buying it? Women ain't buying it. That's why you see the largest gender gap in this election than I've ever seen in my 35 years of running campaigns. There's not a big surprise to a bunch of hairy-legged men out there that women are smarter than men, and they're not buying this for a second. And that's why you see what you're seeing in these battleground states. He can put on all the orange vests he wants to. He can serve all the French fries that he wants to. Women ain't buying it.
Yeah, Margaret, let's listen to a little bit of what Trump had to say last night about Harris and the Democrats trying to seize on this garbage thing. Let's listen.
If Comrade Kamala Harris gets 4 more years, you will be living a full-blown banana republic ruled by an anarchy and a tyranny. It's the people that surround her. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
I beg your pardon, I teed that up incorrectly. I said that was something he said last night. That is what he has said in the past about Harris and Democrats, calling them garbage, calling them lots of different things. To the governor's point, where she was saying a few moments ago, Margaret, that Trump has used this kind of language himself.
Of course he has. I mean, the contrast between that and Vice President Harris at the Ellipse talking about how the United States of America is the greatest idea humanity has devised. And that it is an idea great enough to encompass all of our dreams, and so we can transcend our differences in order to pull together. I mean, you couldn't have more stark of a contrasting closing message between the two. And I think Americans are glass half full people. We're optimistic people. We believe in the shining city on the hill still, and that's why her message is so much more potent. One more quick note, Jim, and this echoes everything the previous panelists have said. Women are turning out in extraordinary numbers in the early vote. And there is no evidence that pollsters have yet figured out how to poll this country in a post-Dobbs election. We haven't seen a single time where abortion has been on the ballot. And by the way, make no mistake, this abortion is on the ballot in 50 states this time, in 3 days, 50 states. We haven't seen a single election where the pollsters have gotten it right every single time, from Kansas to Virginia to Ohio to Kentucky. Women have voted for control over their own bodies.
And Lee, do you think that is something that the polls just don't show at this point? We saw those abortion referendums in Ohio and Kansas go in favor of abortion rights in margins that we just didn't anticipate. The pollsters didn't anticipate. The pundits didn't anticipate. Might that be an X factor in all of this? We're just not seeing ahead of time. We're just going to have to see how it plays out on Election Day.
I mean, I'm surprised that the pollsters are getting it wrong. I mean, 7 in 10 independent women say it's going to be a primary decision maker for them. So I wasn't surprised at the results in Ohio. When you look at the 10 states where abortion is going to be on the ballot, I think that actually has a large impact, especially because there's 2 swing states there. But the thing that we don't know is, yes, this is going to drive women's turnout. Absolutely. But there's another unknown factor. Donald Trump is really gutting after young men in a way that we haven't seen. Sort of record numbers of young men are registering to vote. They're not going to be likely voters because it's the first time they're going to vote. and we don't know what kind of turnout we're going to have there. So there is a huge gender divide. It's a huge story, but we're having a hard time understanding exactly who is going to turn up on election day.